Like I said, fast forward again to my mom dying. So my mom died on 9/11. Mind you, I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm going through all this stuff in the background. My mom died. She got murdered. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Bubbles. If you are new here, what's up? If you're a returning subscriber, hello, everybody. Thank y'all for clicking on this video. This is going to be a long video. And why am I posting this? I have no idea, but I'm just going to be obedient to God. And that's just it. I have been through a lot of stuff and I have overcame a lot of stuff. And I feel like my journey with depression has been insane. And I'm going to start off by telling y'all my story. What I've had to go through, how I overcame it, and what I'm doing now to maintain, this healed version of myself. But this is definitely going to be a long video, so grab your chips, your popcorn, whatever y'all need, because I'm going to take y'all for a ride. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with my childhood. So at the age of 4, I was adopted into a Hispanic family. So I learned to speak Spanish when I was little. My whole family's Mexican. I met my biological mom at the age of 18, so from the time of 4 to 18, I had a closed adoption. Mind you, I have 9 siblings, so I'm the third oldest out of 9. 8 of us were adopted. My oldest sister, she's the only one that stayed with our mother. Growing up, I was depressed, you guys. The only thing that I think helped me when I was growing up was sports. Sports was like my escape. I felt like sports was the only thing that understood me, the only place where I could release, my tension, my anger, my confusion, because there was just so many emotions that I had growing up as to why what happened. Fast forward a little bit to 18 years old. That's when I met my biological mother. So the reason why I got adopted was because my mother was a drug addict. So at the age, my mom had been a drug addict for as long as I could know, and she ended up losing all of us. So when I turned 18, she was released from prison and I was reunited with her. So it started off by writing letters. I wrote her letter and I was like, hey, this is your daughter. I don't know if you remember me. Mind you, my mom was in prison. So that's why I had to write her a letter. And she was like, yeah, I'm getting out in a couple months. I would love to meet you. So at this time I was like, oh my God, I'm 18. I'm finally going to meet my mother. I have so many questions. So I ended up meeting my mom. It wasn't one of those things where it was like, oh my God, I met my mom again. I had to realize very quickly that my mother ended up being just like my best friend. She wasn't the person that I would call if I were sick, or the person that I wanted to call when, there was something wrong and I wanted advice. My mom was sick up until the day that she died. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so I spent a good 3 years with my biological mom. I asked her whatever questions that I could, got whatever answers from her that that she could give me. Some things got answered, some things didn't. But at that moment, I had to make a decision to draw a line in the sand, either forgive my mom for everything that happened or continue to be mad at her and make her pay for everything that she did when I was a kid. At that point, I had forgiven my mother. So, let me also throw this in here. Growing up, if there's one thing that my adopted mother did, thank you, Jesus. I appreciate her so much for this. She made sure that I had a relationship with God. I grew up in church. So the forgiving aspect and understanding, like, in order to be able to feel better about this and move on with this, you have to either choose to draw a line in the sand and give her a chance to be whoever she is today, or, keep throwing up in her face, you did this when I was a kid, you did that when I was a kid. And that's just not where I was at that point. I was like, I'm 18, I want to get to know you for who you are today. So my mother and I spent a great couple years together, 3 years from 18 till 21, great couple years together. I ended up getting pregnant. My mother had grandchildren from my little brothers, but she had never physically met any of her grandkids. So I was 7 months pregnant when my mother passed. She died on 9/11 in 2016. So my first son, Damien, was born 2016 as well. So I was like, 7, 8 months pregnant when she passed. But let's rewind a little bit to how I got pregnant. So at 18, I actually got kicked out the house too. I don't know if that was just a house rule, but I was being charged half the rent, and it was like, you're 18. And at that point, I was also dating my son's dad. And it was one of those things where it's like, well, if you're going to spend so much time with this person, then you need to get the hell up out my house. And I was like, okay, whatever, then I guess I'm leaving. So I ended up forcefully being moved in with my baby daddy. And I happened to get pregnant. When I met him, I had my whole life together. I was working at 24 Hour Fitness. I was working at LA Fitness. I was modeling in LA. I was doing music videos. Like, I was at my prime, you guys. Like, I had chased my dreams. I was doing things that I wanted to do. And then I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, my baby daddy was like, you know what? Like, you don't gotta work. I'll take care of you. Like, you ain't gotta do anything. And I was like, oh shit, my man wanna take care of me. Let me, so I quit my jobs. He was in the military, so he got us an apartment. I was like, oh, I'm on top. He came home one day with a brand new car, and I was like, what? He was like, this is for you. So I sold my car. I had worked so hard for my car. I will never forget. It was like a 2013 Mitsubishi Eclipse stick shift. That was my first car, and I was sad to like see it go, but then at the same time, I was like, hey, like, my man just got us an apartment. My man got me a car, like, da, da, da. Little did I know this was the beginning of a nightmare, honestly. My bad, I turned that phone down. This is a good story, not gonna get interrupted. So once he had gained all this control over me, my finances, because he was the only one working, my car, because he had gifted me a car. I think the only thing I had control over was my phone. But once that whole situation happened, that's when things started to get real. And I realized I was dealing with a narcissist. I was getting abused physically, mentally, emotionally. I found out this dude was married. Girl, it was just a whole disaster. Like, it's too long for me to get into detail, but that was the gist of my first relationship, right? So fast forward again, I'm 7 months pregnant with this dude that's beating me. I'm depressed. I was living in my car because his wife had to fly out to his job, and because she found out that I was pregnant. So she found out that I was pregnant, flew in, told his chain of command. So he was like, you gotta move out the house. He had me living with his friends. He had me living in a car. At one point, I was living in a shelter with my son while he was in the house with this other girl trying to like cover up. Yeah, y'all crazy. Oh my God, I just cannot believe I went through this. Okay, so like I said, fast forward again to my mom dying. So my mom died on 9/11. Mind you, I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm going through all this stuff in the background. My mom died. She got murdered.
Well, tonight the search is on for 3 drivers who hit a woman on a Linda Vista road and left her to die.
The family of 48-year-old Winona Mitchell is calling for justice after she was killed Sunday night. CBS News 8's Richard Allen is live in Linda Vista with how she's being remembered by her children. Richard.
Carlo and Barbara Lee, a heartbreaking scene out here tonight as family and friends continue to mourn the untimely death of Winona Mitchell as she tried to cross the street here, as they also desperately appeal to the public for answers. Grieving and grasping for answers.
Who killed my mama?
As to who is responsible for the violent hit-and-run death of 48-year-old San Diegan Winona Mitchell.
Please come forward. Please. We need justice out here.
Sunday night at around 10:30, the beloved mother and friend was crossing Linda Vista Road near Mesa College Drive when she was struck by 3 drivers, all of whom fled the scene. Police say as she was attempting to dash across, a dark sedan hit her. Moments later, a full-size pickup truck ran her over, followed by a red sedan. She died at the scene from her injuries.
It's something that no one wants to ever think about.
Mitchell's oldest daughter says her mother was exceptionally giving.
She would give you clothes off her back. She was just she was an angel on earth.
Latoya Ann Jackson says she is now inconsolable as she pictures a future without her mother.
Certain things like getting married, a time in my life where my mother was supposed to help me with my dress, my makeup.
Mitchell's loved ones have a message for those drivers responsible.
We're all human. I understand you may have some guilt on your shoulders.
She got murdered and through a hit and run in San Diego. Like, one car hit her and kept driving, another car hit her and kept driving, the third car hit her, kept driving, and then finally the 4th car stopped. Still till this day, y'all, I have no answers. I don't know who did it, where that person was, why she was out there. I don't know anything still till this day. I pray to God, thank you for healing, because I've gotten closure with that whole situation, but I still have not gotten like physical closure with that situation. So that put me in a depressive state. I was about to have my baby. I just lost my biological mom after meeting her for a few years. I was so unhappy in my relationship. I felt like nothing was doing it for me. So fast forward a little bit, I was living in my car. I had chose to leave my boyfriend at the time, finally, after years. When I say I got with him when I got pregnant at 21, I dealt with this for 2 years till I was 23. And the last straw was I had left him to go live in a domestic violence shelter. And at the shelter, I was there for maybe like a month because then weird stuff started happening. People were like trying to steal our bags when we were sleeping. So I had to literally sit up on the bunk bed in the shelter, you guys, crisscross applesauce. And I was like watching the bed, watching our bags. We had to sleep with all of our bags on top of the top bunk. Damien would be asleep. Y'all, when I say I was so broke at that time too, like I was living in like my car and my shelter, like bouncing back and forth. I had $20 last me a week. My son Damien was eating McDonald's for a whole week, like dollar menu, and I drank water for a whole week to stay full. Like that is how broke I was. I was so broke. I was so poor. I was depressed. Like, give me a minute, y'all. You're doing great. Okay, so yeah, y'all, I was super broke, and I had no other option. But you know, my adopted sister at the time was like, "You need to join the military," and I was like, "I am not joining the military. Like, I did not want to join the military. Like, I'm not doing that shit. I'm just not doing it." And at that point, I didn't have no other choice. I was like, I'm going to end up losing my son if I do not, like, we can't be living in a car. And mind you, at this time, his dad had the apartment because he was in the military. His dad had the car. He looked stable. Like, so he got a restraining order put on me against my son where I couldn't see my son for like a month because he was trying to say that I abused him. So I got my son taken from me. And that is when I really hit rock bottom. Like, I didn't, and with restraining order, y'all, you can't talk to nobody when you got a restraining order. So he was calling my phone, blowing mind you, he has the baby, but he wanted to know what I was doing. He wanted to know where I was at because he had lost that control over me, right? So, oh my God, there's just so much to this story, you guys. This is such a long testimony. Please stick through it. I really hope that y'all stick through the story to hear what I'm about to say. So fast forward to me being homeless. Okay. I go to the recruiter's office and I'm like, I need to join the military ASAP. I don't care what job it is. I passed my ASVAB the first time, flying colors. And then they gave me a shipping date. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I can't even say that part. Hold on. I can't say that part. Wait. I can't say that part. Yeah, I can't say that part. But I ended up going to the recruiter's office, y'all. I ended up getting a shipping date for boot camp. And I kid you not, y'all, when I shipped to boot camp, I had like $2.67 in my name. My unemployment had bounced. I was in debt like $2,000 something. Like I owed the IRS this amount of money because my unemployment checks bounced, I guess. I don't know how that even happens, but that ended up happening. So when I shipped to boot camp, y'all, I had literally like $2.67. And the reason why I joined the military was because I needed something for my son. Excuse me. I needed something for my son. I was living in my car. I had no money. I was getting abused. I was going from shelter to shelter. I was damn near homeless. I was like, at this point, I have no other choice. I have to join the military. So I joined the military. I shipped to boot camp, and boot camp was 3 months. Mind you, there's no phones, no nothing. Like I had no communication or way to communicate with my son. And my son was left with my abuser and his new girlfriend. So you can only imagine how I was feeling. And every time I wanted to quit in boot camp, I was like, you cannot quit. You got to get through this. This is for Damien. He needs you, like you can do it. So I finished boot camp, then I went to AIT, and the whole plan this whole time was, okay, you go to boot camp with me and the dad. He was like, okay, you go to boot camp, and then when you get out, you go to your duty station, and we'll send Damien to you so you can have him. Because at that time, he didn't want the responsibility anyway. So it was like, okay, cool, it works out for everybody. So I'm in basic. I get stationed to my first duty station, and it's Germany. And for those of you that don't know, in order to get a passport for a child, you have to have both the parents' signatures or both parents have to be in agreement. So I got Germany and I immediately bawled my eyes out, you guys. When I say I was so sad, like I was like, how am I going to get him over here? But I was like, you know what? We're just going to trust God, hope that everything's going to be okay. And then whatever. So I get to Germany, I get stationed out there, I get settled in, I got Damien's passport, I got his plane ticket and everything for him to come to me. And I call his dad. I'm like, hey, I got his plane ticket and everything. Like, what, is he ready to go? Like, what day can I come get him? And his dad was like, well, what about me? And I was like, what about you? And he was like, well, I'm coming out there too. I'm coming to live here too. And I was like, I'm not going to be with you no more. By this point, I haven't been with this man for 4 or 5 months. I'm healed. Like, I went to boot camp. I forgot about you. Like, I'm not sweating you. Like, I lost that attachment that I had from the abusive cycle. Like, we'd always beef and then we'd get back together, and then we'd fight and then we'd get back together. It's called the cycle of abuse. I can't quote it off the top of my head, but y'all can look it up. And I told him, I was like, no, you're not coming out here. Like, he's like, okay, bet. Well, then I guess you're not going to see your son for 3 years. So I was stationed in Germany. I did not get to see my son for 3 years, you guys. So the depression really hit. So mind you, I'm going through postpartum, grieving my mother. Yes, who is it? Sorry, y'all, they interrupt me. So, yeah, he was like, well, then I guess you're not going to see your son for 3 years then. So, man, I wish, y'all, the feeling that I had knowing that I went to boot camp, went to AIT, did all that, got stationed just to not get my son. And y'all, when I tell you those 3 years passed, I got really sad. I had to detach myself because I felt like I was hurting myself more and more. Like, the more I called, the more I'd reach out. He'd ignore me. He'd be like, oh, like, you'll talk to him when I want you to talk to him. Like, it was that type of thing. So at one point, you guys, like, for my own mental health, I had to just distance myself. I stopped calling as much. I stopped texting as much. I just let it be. And I ended up meeting my second baby daddy. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to find somebody else to make me happy. I just genuinely had to let that situation go, like, and let it be what it's going to be, because there's no way that I could have changed it. I was stationed in Germany. He wasn't letting me get him. It is what it is. Like, we have to move on and keep going and just let time pass. So until we technically reunite again. So I ended up meeting my second baby daddy, and this was one of those things where I know I messed up. We kicked it off. He was like the finest dude in the barracks. All the girls wanted him. And it was for sure one of those things that was just lust. Like, we had really good sex, so we would just be having sex. And in the beginning, I was like, I'm cool with just being, F buddies. Like, we don't got to be in a relationship, but he was like, no, like, I want to be with you. And, and that was probably the first red flag I should have noticed, but I didn't. The fact that he was just so adamant about being with me and adamant about, like, us being together. And I had gotten pregnant by him. This, I'm not going to lie to y'all, though, this was an intentional pregnancy because I wanted more kids anyways. I've always wanted 3 or 4 boys. I didn't get all boys, but I wanted three or 4 kids. So at this time I was 23. I was like, damn, if I'm going to get these babies out, I might as well. Like, it wasn't one of those things where I was like, oh, I'll have a baby with anybody. But me and him were hitting it off. We had plans to get married. But growing up without a father figure in the home, growing up without any type of male guidance or advice, when you grow up and you have male abandonment issues, you allow yourself to be put in situations that you don't even know you're putting yourself into due to lack of knowledge. So I was thinking that him love bombing me and him yelling at me, I grew up seeing that with my adopted family. I grew up seeing not men in the house, but in relationships with people in our family. The abuse was something that I constantly saw. So when I grew up and I saw people doing it to me, I thought it was okay. Was not okay. Not a normal way to have relationships. Do not do that. Yeah, so I ended up getting with him. It was cool in the beginning. The first red flag was when I was pregnant. We had gotten in an argument and he had like grabbed me from my arms. And I should have taken that as his first sign of like, okay, like this might be abusive too, but I didn't. I just looked past it. I looked past the yelling. I thought it was, something that was normal. And I ended up in a sticky situation again, down to the point to where I had got put in the hospital because of the domestic violence. I had bruising on my brain. I had a whole TBI, you guys. This dude picked me up and slammed me on my head over foolish stuff. Like, we were beefing. I'm gonna give y'all an example. Like, we were beefing one time, and I tried to call 911 from his phone because he had took mine. So I grabbed his phone. I was trying to dial 911. He was charging after me while I was trying to run out the door. Well, since I was trying to run out the door, I got his phone and threw it because that's what he was seeking. He did not care about the phone, y'all. He ran up, grabbed me, picked me up over his shoulders, and slammed me on the ground, you guys. And that was like my last, I would say, draw. And I knew that I had to leave him after that. Mind you guys, this is like the freaking 5th, 6th, 7th incident. I'm just telling y'all the worst that it ever got was when I got a TBI. He lied to the ambulance and tried to tell them that I slipped and fell. And I was like, no, he definitely threw me, you know what I'm saying? And believe it or not, y'all, we went through all that, and like a week or two later, we ended up sleeping together. Like, we had to live in two whole different buildings. Like, I don't know if y'all have been in the military, but I had the house, and when you get in trouble or you go to jail or something, they'll put you back in like the barracks. So he was in the barracks, and we were sneaking to see each other in the midst of all of this. And it's just like, how are you even doing that with that man, knowing that he just did this with you? Like, I know it sounds crazy, y'all, but for the ones that have been through it, y'all understand the cycle of abuse. Like, and that's why I'm telling you my testimony, because I get it. I understand. I've been there. Like, and this, like I said, this is all a part of the journey, y'all. So I'm only halfway there. So, yeah, so we ended up separating. I had to do counseling. We had to do marriage counseling. It was mandatory in the Army. I did not want to be with him. I did not know how to get away from him because we were married. So if I PCS'd, he PCS'd. If he PCS'd, I PCS'd. And I just felt like I was stuck. And then, fast forward to me giving birth to Khaleesi. I gave birth to Khaleesi, and I ended up being the only one raising her. I had one of those exes where it was like he was obsessed with video games. So I would literally leave and be gone all night and come back, and he didn't even notice that I was gone. And during that time when I was depressed, I was doing drugs. I was doing all types of stuff. Praise God. Thank you so much for getting me through that, for getting me through that. But I was depressed, y'all. I was drinking. I was doing ecstasy. I was smoking. Like, this was while I was still in the military. Like, I was depressed, y'all. I was in a very, very dark space, but I was one of those high functioning depressed people. Like, I could be depressed, I could be sad, and nobody could even notice. Like, nobody would ever even know, because I've been depressed my whole life. So I just knew how to function through depression. But I'm not gonna lie to y'all, when I did start doing drugs, I did start doing alcohol, it made me feel like everything was okay. Everything was always fun. Eventually that shit got tiring. That shit got tiring. I did that for maybe about 3 months, and then I ended up pregnant with Adonis. And praise God, I think that was the reason why God made me get pregnant with Adonis again, so that I could stop the wild shit that I was doing. Because I was out there wilding, y'all. Like, when I tell you God had his hand on me, I was out there wilding. Could have got caught at any moment. Could have got kicked out the Army at any moment. Like, but at that moment, I did not care. Like, I was so depressed. I was so down. I was so sad. I wanted to just give up everything, and I just did not care. I just knew that I had to keep the baby alive. And that's another thing too. Shout out to me being a mom. No matter how jacked up I got, no matter how late, how high, how late at night I came home, I was always up with my baby the first thing in the morning till the last second at night. I never put anything above my kids. I was always there for the first diaper change, feedings. Like, he never picked up where I lacked, because I never lacked. And I always told myself, never let anything get in between you being a mother. You know what I'm saying? Especially because my mom did what she did with me. So there's a part of me that's like, I owe it to my kids to make sure that I'm always there for them. You know what I'm saying? So I went through my own shit, but then at the same time, like, my kids have never not had their mom, because I've made sure that they've always had me throughout all this. May have been a little turnt, may have been a little silly and stuff, but I've always been there, and they didn't even know. Like, Khaleesi was a baby. But anyways, yeah, so fast forward to me getting pregnant with Donnie. Oh, I know when I got pregnant with Donnie too. Remember how I told y'all that we had snuck out and we were linking with each other? That time that I had snuck out to link with him, we had sex. And that one time that I had sex with him, I ended up getting pregnant. And mind you, like I just said, I was doing all types of stuff, partying, drinking, doing ecstasy. Like, I was in Germany. I was late, you know what I'm saying? So, and mind you, this was my first time doing any of those drugs. Like, I had never did no drugs ever in my life prior to Germany. So I was 24 when I did it for the first time. Yeah, like 24. Yeah, like 24. So fast forward, like I said, I found out I was pregnant with Donnie, and I was like, oh my God, this baby's gonna come out deformed. Like, do y'all know how turned I've been? Like, all the drugs that I've been doing. So I was crying. Like, and abortion is just, it's never been an option for me. Like, if I am pregnant, I'm having the baby, period. I don't have it in me to get an abortion. So at that moment, I had to withdraw from everything that I was doing. So imagine going through postpartum depression with Khaleesi, withdrawing from drugs, dealing with my abusive ex, depressed from leaving my son Damien. My mother died. I haven't had a moment to grieve any of this during this time. So I ended up getting pregnant with Donnie. Again, me and my ex tried to work it out again. This is why I'm telling y'all, this is gonna do something for somebody. Oh, I can feel it. Like I'm getting goosebumps on my arms, guys. I'm literally, my hairs are sticking up. I'm just so proud of how far I've came. Fast forward, I get pregnant with Donnie. I get orders to go to El Paso, Texas. I move out there by myself first because my ex was getting out. We had tried to work on it. We were going to marriage counseling. Again, I thought he was going to change. I thought I was going to be able to fix him. Didn't happen. It never does happen, you guys. I'll let y'all know right now. They never change unless they choose to want to change. No baby, no relationship, no incident, nothing, no speech is going to make these people change. Like, a narcissist is going to be a narcissist forever until they choose to change, honestly. Once I got to El Paso, I was about 7 months pregnant. I had a 6-month-old baby. I PCS all by myself. That was stressful as hell. I had my first day of work. So we had moved into the house and everything. I had my first day of work. By this point, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be with this dude no more. His parents had came down to visit, and I had, this was my first day of work. I had texted him like when his parents were there, and I was like, hey, look, like I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be with you. I had blocked this man's number because he was harassing me while his parents were there. And I was like, I'm not finna fight with you with your parents right here. Like, we could talk about this when your parents are gone. Blocked his number. I'm pulling out of my driveway to go to work. Mind you, my first day at my brand new duty station. Nobody knows my business. I'm trying to have a fresh start. I'm trying to do this the right way. Like, our old unit was all in our business because we had the cops called on us. We had to do counseling. So in the military, shit's messy. Like, if something happens, somebody gets in trouble, somebody goes to jail, the whole company knows. So I was like, okay, thank God we're finally going to have a fresh start. Nobody's going to know me. Nobody's going to know him. Our drama, our problems. Y'all, I kid you not, my first day of work, I'm pulling out to go to work. And this dude runs out and elbows my windshield, cracks my entire windshield. His parents are running out. His dad and mom are running out, trying to pull him off the car. He's mad. He was mad because I texted him and said, I don't want to be with you no more. Like, you need to figure it out. I don't want to be with you no more. I don't want this family. This dude ended up in the psych ward, you guys. So my first day at work, I had to call my boss, which is now one of my best friends, Jalen. Shout out Jalen. And she had to go through this whole process with me, y'all. When I tell you it was, I can't even put into words everything that I went through. Just know that I went through a lot. I went through him busting into my best friend's house, beating up one of our guy friends, like breaking doors. Okay, so let me give y'all an example of something that we would beef about. Okay, so one time, mind you, y'all know my background, my history, my childhood. I didn't have my mom. Whenever I would cry, nobody was really attentive. So now that I have children, I am so careful. I'm so attentive. I'm so on my P's and Q's with them. There was this one incident where Adonis was upstairs sleeping and we had a monitor because we had a big house. So we had downstairs and upstairs and I heard him crying. So he was in the kitchen with me, but I turned the camera on to see. I waited to look until his dad got upstairs to check him to make sure he was okay. And once I saw he was okay, I was like, okay, cool. His dad grabbed him. I put the camera down and kept doing what I was doing. I kid you guys not. 2 minutes later, he comes downstairs. He sees that the monitor's on. What the f*** you spying on me for? Like, why the f*** are you spying on me? You think I don't know how to take care of my kids? I'm not spying on you. My child was crying. I turned on the camera to make sure he was okay. And now you're coming down here saying that I think that you're a bad dad. You don't know. That's not why the camera's on. The camera's on because I have my own personal trauma. And if my child cries, I'm going to go every time. I don't care how little or how big, I'm going to care every time. Those were the type of fights. And we ended up in fist fights over stuff like that. Like, you guys, the narcissism, the control. And then he was also so critical of me. Like, so critical. Any little thing I do always had to have an opinion. Like, he tried to control what I wore. He tried to control who I hung out with. He never wanted me with my friends because he said that all my friends were bad influences. What I would wear, oh, God forbid I go outside with a skirt on. Like, he would make me change my clothes. Every time I try to crack a joke or say anything funny, he'd be like, that's not fucking funny. Or like, you're not that funny. Like, he would just dim my light, like literally break me down. Like, I was always walking on eggshells. I didn't know what would set him off. It didn't matter what I said or did. I didn't know how to deal with him during the day. So there were some times where he wanted to cuddle and be on me and hug me. And I would just be like, You know, he didn't like that I didn't want to cuddle with him. He didn't like that I didn't want to be touched by him. He didn't like that. But it's just like when you're so abused and battered, you become like a scared dog where it's like, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it, but if you know, you know. Okay, so fast forward even more, I ended up leaving that relationship. I finally ended up leaving that relationship, you guys. And it was hard. The last incident that made me be like, you know what, F this, I can't do it no more. He kicked me out the car in the middle of the street. Physically was like, get the fuck out, made me open the door and was like, shove me out the car. And I was in the middle of the street. I was running, dodging traffic. And I was just like, you know what, Denisha, you do not have to do this. And my kids were in the car. Like my oldest was in the car, Khaleesi was in the car, Donnie was in the car, and I was just like, you cannot continue to let this happen in front of the kids. Like usually whenever we did beef, it was like behind closed doors, the kids would be asleep and it would just be us. Like I try to make sure that it never, but there were instances where he didn't care. Like cops got called, cops had to barge in the house, like crazy, outrageous, wild shit. And I was just like, my kids can't see this anymore. And so me and him ended up separating. I told him and written, I was like, look, on this day I'm leaving. And mind you, when you're married in the military, you can't just up and leave. Like if you leave off base, your spouse gets the majority, or your spouse gets the house. So it don't matter if because he was no longer a service member. So since he was out of the military and I was still in the military, he got to keep the house. If I wanted to move, I had to live off base with my own money and figure out my own shit. So mind you, I have 3 kids. Okay. And I was a specialist making maybe like $1,300 a month, $1,400 a month, like barely anything. My car note was $600. My insurance, I had to pay my phone, I had to pay for daycare, I had to pay for Wi-Fi, I had to pay for groceries, I had to pay for formula, with only $1,400. So I didn't know how I was going to do it. Y'all, I pulled some money out of my TSP to just do the first and last month deposit of my apartment because I did not have that money, but I had to get out that house. I was like, I need to find another way to make money, but legally. So I started stripping. And I had to do what I had to do. That was the only way that I could make money. That was the only way that I could make sure my kids had food on the table. And I would go to work all day in the Army, get out of work around 4:35. Come home, feed the kids, bathe the kids, play with the kids. They'd probably be asleep around like 9, 10. I had to put cameras inside of my house. I had a Ring door camera. I had cameras in the kids' room, cameras in the living room, cameras in my room. Because at that point, it's like I'm dealing with an abusive person. So I got to have cameras at all times. And y'all, I had to strip all night and then I had to work all day. I was watching my kids from my phone. Like I had one of those cameras where it was like if anybody made a movement, my phone would notify me. So I'd be over there dancing, working, and then I'd check my phone. It'd say like no movement, or if somebody did sneeze or something, it'd be like, oh, there's movement. I checked the camera and they're sleeping. I had to do that for months, y'all. And when I tell you, when I went in to do this job, I had to be up. There was no way that I could do stripping and not be high, not be drunk, or not be, because it just was not in my character. It was not in my element to have to do that. Like I did not like men touching on me. I did not like having to go in there and be sexy and seduce men for money. Like I just felt so disgusting having to do that. Like when I tell you I felt so disgusting having to do that, I felt so disgusting having to do that. But I'm not ashamed. And you know what? I did it with my best friend because she was in a dark place too. So we had ended up doing it together. I'm not going to drop her name because I don't know if she want her business out there, but my best friend and I actually ended up doing it together. So I wasn't alone. That's not something that I would recommend anybody doing alone. That shit gets dark. And doing that made me depressed too. So mind you guys, you hear her, I have not had a moment to like breathe and get up and breathe this entire time, my entire life. Like right now that I'm 29, this is the first time in my life that I feel like I'm still on a healing journey, but I'm not depressed. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. So yeah, so I was working at the strip club and I was doing that for maybe like 6-7 months. Every penny that I made went to my kids. Still to this day, every penny that I made went to the kids. I didn't get to spend a penny of that towards me, which I don't mind. But I ended up deciding that I was going to get out the military because I was like, I just cannot keep living this life. I was depressed because I was dropping my kids off at 5 a.m. so that I was at PT by 6:30 a.m. And then I wasn't seeing my kids again until like 5 p.m. And that was making me so depressed because I was like, I'm paying other people to raise my kids. I'm never seeing them. I'm never happy. The army just had me depressed too in its own way. But the fact that everybody knew my business is like, I felt like every single time I walked into work, everybody was just immediately judging me. It's like, oh yeah, that's the girl that's husband's beating her. And that was just so embarrassing. Like, I was just so done with the army. I was so done with being around him. And I had prayed to God. I remember one night when I was done dancing, and I prayed to God, and I was like, God, please, like, I want to get out this military. Like, I didn't want to get chaptered out on like a family care plan. I didn't want to get kicked out. I wanted to ETS. And I told God, I was like, I'm going to make it until November doing this. But I was like, God, I promise you, if you give me this 100%, and you let me, be able to sustain my life and take care of my kids on my own, I will never allow any man to hurt me. I will never allow anybody to do anything to disrespect me, but I need to be able to stand on my own. Like, I need to be able to do this by myself without a man's help or feeling like I need anybody. Like, just let it be me and my kids and be cool, and something that will help me be foundational so I could take care of my family, So I was getting out, I think November 22nd, and I had applied for my disability and all that. Fast forward to December 1st. So November 22nd, I got out. Mind you, I had no income. My military money stopped. All I was doing was dancing. I got all these bills, all these kids, all these responsibilities. I was just like, there's no way I can do daycare, take care of the kids, try to work. There's 3 of them. There's 3 kids. So I just want to cry thinking about this. December 1st came and I got my 100%. And it just makes me want to cry because I prayed for that so hard. So I had told God, like, when I had prayed, I was like, God, please let me get this 100%. Please let me get this 100%. Like, I will never question anything that I went through. I will never be upset about anything that I went through. I will use my testimony as a way to glorify you. Like, I will let the world know what you did if I get this 100%. And I got that 100%. 100% disability. I did. I got what I prayed for. And ever since that day, I've never questioned God about what I went through. I've never been, oh, poor me. Oh, sorry. Because there's so much strength. There's so much power in my testimony, like, which is why I'm sharing this with y'all. So fast forward a little bit more. I'm just going to share this because this is my story. So, I mean, I don't really care. While I was working at the strip club, I had met my boyfriend that I'm with right now. He had went for his birthday. And we had kind of slightly exchanged info like that day because we were just celebrating. But when I was in the strip club, like if I got anybody's info, anybody's phone number, it was because they had some money and they was cashing out and they're like potential clients for future dates. It was never like, oh, I'm gonna find my husband in the strip club. Absolutely not. Because that's just not, that's not even where my mind was thinking. Like, I didn't want nothing to do with men. So when I was in that strip club and they were like, oh, I'm trying to holler at you, I was just like, stay away from me, stay away from me. Don't want to hear it. Give me my space. But I ended up meeting my boyfriend that I'm with right now. And it was real, like I said in the beginning, it was real nonchalant. But a few months later, he had invited me to come over to hang out. And I did. And we hung out that first day, and ever since then, we have been inseparable. And I feel like when I prayed for my next man, I prayed to God that he would be like my best friend, that it'd be safe, that I wouldn't have to worry about anything. Like, I wanted somebody to take care of me, somebody that pours into me and allows me to be whoever I am. Because at that point, I didn't even know who I was. Like, I feel like right now, I'm barely starting to figure out who I am, what I love to do. I feel like I'm getting so sidetracked, y'all, but I'm just like speaking and saying like whatever is coming to my heart. But me and my boyfriend now have been together since, we've been together almost 3 years now. And it has been nothing short of amazing. He's everything that I prayed for, everything that I asked for. And once I got with him, a lot of my worries, I believe that we need men. There's certain things, there's certain security, there's a certain feeling that at least my man gives me that allows me to be put in my soft girl life. Like I don't have to worry about anything that doesn't have to do with me. If it has to do with us having to live, rent, utility, like he takes care of us. Like, and I'm just gonna say that straight up. He takes care of us. But with that, it's allowed me time. I don't have to work if I don't want to. I'm able to stay home with my kids. I'm able to raise my kids. And all of that has been a part of my healing journey, putting on my soft girl hat. And that's where I kind of want to fast forward to now, because I just spent 40 minutes telling y'all about my story, but I kind of want to get to like my healing now. I hope I didn't skim over anything. I could do more in-depth stories of everything that I said. Y'all just drop it down in the comments if y'all want to hear more about any of the stories that I said. I don't mind doing videos on domestic violence, dealing with a narcissist. I don't mind doing videos like that. Like, I feel like God made me go through all of that so that I could be here telling what I'm about to tell y'all right now. But a part of my healing journey. So what I did, I had to start by cutting ties. I realized that I was associated with a lot of people, places, and things just because I was taught that, or just because that's what everybody else was doing. Like, I no longer associate myself with people that gossip, people that speak bad about other people. As far as my exes, keeping as much distance as possible from the narcissism. I've learned to really gain control of my mental. Oh, my battery's about to die out. Hold on, let me change my battery and I'm gonna be right back.
One eternity later.
You guys, my camera died. I'm so sorry, y'all. My camera died, so I had to take a quick 15-minute intermission. But okay, so now that I've given y'all a quick background, honestly, there's so much more in my story, y'all, like I said, but this video cannot be 10 hours long. So fast forward to my turning point. My turning point was, I would say, so after I moved from my ex and I was stripping, I was living in that apartment, I had that whole year to myself. Besides that time where I was, out stripping and working, like that was my time alone. I was single for a whole year. This was my first time in my adult livelihood that I had ever been not with a person, like, because I was going from relationship to relationship to relationship without having any healing time. And that is so important. And I'm going to go ahead and speak on that really quick. Going from relationship to relationship to relationship, for me, it was, how would I explain it? I think that was just a comfort thing because I was not okay with being by myself. I felt like when I was by myself, I was having too many thoughts in my head, or I was just constantly like, and when I was depressed, like I would wake up and stay in the bed all day, blinds closed, in the bed. I would still take care of the kids, but I would just do the bare minimum. Like I wasn't doing outings. I wasn't grocery store. And even then I was having my groceries delivered. Like I was not leaving the house. And it got to a point where I was just like, where do we go from here? You know what I'm saying? Like, where do we go from here? How do we get out of this? What is the turning point? Like, and I was just tired of being tired. I was tired of feeling sorry for myself. I was tired of having the excuses of like, I went through all this, so this is why I'm so depressed. And this, like, I just took power over my life. And I realized that I could not. My kids saved me. My kids are the thing that kept me out of the gutter. Like I did have one suicide attempt during my relationship with my ex, but that's a whole nother story in itself. I'm gonna have to do a video on that. But when that suicide attempt failed and I still was here and I was able to raise my kids, I was like, you know what? We can never allow ourselves to get that low again. Like nothing should be ever that bad that you feel like you got to take your life. So I started with me. I started facing the things that I knew that I needed help with, taking accountability. I realized that I was letting men do and say and behave the way that they did with me. One, because due to lack of knowledge, but then also two, at that time, I felt like that's the best that I could do. That's all I saw growing up. It's always been baby daddy. I've never seen a healthy marriage ever in life, like where the wife is literally loyal to the husband. Like somebody's always been miserable, or one's cheating, but everybody, they just keep a hush hush because, and I'm not that type of person. Like, I forgot where I was going with this. Okay, self-love, I remember. So yeah, it started with myself. And once I realized I really needed to set up boundaries with friends, family, relationships, everybody. even my kids. I realized that I was allowing a lot of stuff to happen to me. I was allowing a lot of people's words to affect me. And that, I'm going to start talking about that right now since I'm bringing it up. This book has changed a lot for me. It's called The 4 Agreements. And the first one is be impeccable with your word. An example that this book had gave was there was this little girl and her mother had came home from work and she was super tired. And her daughter was younger. I don't know exactly what age, but she was singing and she just kept getting louder and louder and louder. And mom was like, shut up. You can't even sing. And from that moment on, she casted a spell on her daughter. We speak so much black magic and white magic was what I was going to say. But she had casted a spell on her daughter, and her whole life after that, her daughter stopped singing. She became shy. She wasn't as social anymore just because of that one comment that her mother made. And it made me really think during my healing journey about this, to be impeccable with your word and not allow people to say things to you or say things about other people to you, like all that gossiping, all that he said, she said, and I don't allow that type of stuff near me no more. Like I really protect my peace. I surround myself with people that love me, like people whose faces light up when they see me. I don't have anybody in my life that's questionable or anybody in my life that I'm unsure about. I had to clean up house, and when I tell you I can count on 2 hands how many people I stay in contact with. It is what it is. But I am at such peace, you guys, and I am so happy. It takes a lot to really seek self-help. It takes a strong person to identify what the problem is, taking accountability, but I would for sure say reading. Reading has helped me drastically in this, and reading my Bible. God has been so good to me. Like, God has been so good to me throughout all of this, and he has saved my life numerous of times. Probably for this exact moment. Thank you, God, for real. Thank you. My lifestyle has changed drastically. I don't really party a lot. I don't do no drugs. I really take care of myself, you guys. And that is the number one thing that's going to help you get out of your depression. Being selfish. Worry about you. If I don't look good and feel good, everything else is not going to come to part. I wake up at 4 a.m. I read my Bible. I go to Pilates. I pray. I take my vitamins, I moisturize my face, I take care of my hair. Self-care and making yourself feel better is the first step of it. You have to make sure that you are okay. And it may seem like it's something so simple, but even getting up and making your bed, opening up the blinds, you gotta start creating a habit and a routine of something else that's different from what you do on your day-to-day. You can't expect something to change if you don't make a difference. And it's hard to see the old you die and step into the new you. I feel like that's not what I'm kind of going through right now, but I feel like in some kind of way it is, because in this time of my life, I feel like I'm just going through a healing journey. I feel like I'm going through a personal growth journey. So all I really do all day is seek personal growth, seek healing, seek myself and God and my purpose. I feel like that's just where I'm at now, because that's all that really matters. But at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And it took me all these years to realize that, but I hope that I'm able to share my testimony with somebody and speak to y'all so that, y'all have a little bit of hope. Your mindset also has to change. Feeling sorry for yourself and having that chip on your shoulder, poor me, and you have got to get out of that, because nobody cares. Nobody cares about what you went through, and that's not saying it to be disrespectful, but the only person that really cares about the pain that you're feeling and the hurt that's been caused to you is you. And all you can do is take accountability for what you've allowed, set up boundaries, don't set any expectations with people. And once somebody shows you who they are the first time, you just got to believe them. And you got to cut off all ties. It doesn't matter how long y'all been together. It doesn't matter if it's blood family. It don't matter if it's your children. Poison is poison. And like I said, you have to be impeccable with your word. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all the other agreement. So the first one was be impeccable with your word. The second one was don't take things personally. The third one was don't make assumptions. And the fourth one was always do your best. And I live by those 4 agreements, you guys. I don't take shit personally. Y'all can watch this video and say a million things trying to judge me. That is y'all have to understand, when people say things to you, that is their perspective of the world through their eyes. So if somebody's like, oh, she thinks she's better than everybody because she got this, and that. No, you think I'm better than everybody because I have this, and that. Or if somebody says something as simple as I don't know how to explain it, y'all. Y'all really got to read that book. That Four Agreements book really changed my life, and so did Atomic Habits. I'll go ahead and insert a picture here, but Atomic Habits also changed my life, and that basically was a book showing you how to build good habits and break old bad ones. And I had to realize, like, I had to write down a list every single day of things that I do, because at one point I was just like, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? Like, how am I, what is my purpose, you know? And I started from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. I wrote down everything I do, brushing my teeth, like when I used to smoking, and I had to write down everything that I did on the day to day, and anything that was, I wouldn't consider a bad habit, but a habit that was not effective. I had to be like, okay, what is this gonna do for me in the long run? So one of the things that I had was being on the phone with my friends for hours. I was like, in the long run, is that gonna help me? No, especially if I'm not talking about nothing productive, you know what I'm saying? Or like smoking, when I was smoking. In the long run, what is that gonna do for me? So really going down and really self-reflecting, realizing what it is that I'm doing that's harming myself, whether it was drugs, alcohol, people, or whatever. I had to really take accountability and look at myself in the mirror and realize, like, look, in order for change, you have to change. And that's just as simple as it is. I also started building a new community, and I also have different outlets like Legos. I do Legos, I read, I pray. Praying and reading your Bible, you guys, is such a huge, and I know that sounds so cliche, but there is so much power in the Word of God. Like, there is so much wisdom in the Bible, and God has saved me. God has helped me get through everything that I'm telling you right now. Like, if it were not for God, I would not be where I am at today, period. And I just want y'all to know, like, healing is a journey. I'm on the first step out of years to come. It's a never-ending process. It's okay to take small steps. And what matters most is that you just keep going. You are the orchestrator of your own life. All y'all have such a different story and such a different purpose. And I genuinely believe once y'all start seeking yourself, once you start seeking your purpose, what makes you happy and doing for you, everything else will come to you. For real. Everything else came to me once I started focusing on me. Like the relationship I wanted, the money I want, the house I want, the friendships I want, everything came to me effortlessly once I took care of myself. So with that being said, I think that's gonna be the end of this video. I really appreciate you guys sitting down and listening to this testimony. I hope I helped somebody. Drop down below in the comments if y'all can relate to anything that I said. If you're in the beginning of your healing journey, the middle of your healing journey, you are completely healed. Bless your heart if you have completely healed. But like we just said, it's a healing process, y'all. This is a journey. There's no judgment. And I respect y'all and I love y'all for letting me get on here and tell my story. I pray to God that this reaches a person that it needs to. And like I said, I don't even know why I made this video, y'all. I'm just being obedient to God. And he told me to come on here and tell y'all what I went through and where I'm at right now. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching this video. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, because I think this is gonna be like the first out of many self-help videos that I do, because I have been through so much stuff. So I'm definitely going to make more videos of this, especially if this video itself does well. But yeah, y'all, that's all. Thank y'all for watching this video. Like I said, I love you and I hope you guys all get something from this. Oh, I hope y'all get something from this. I hope y'all listen to this, because if I knew then what I know now, I wish somebody would have said this stuff to me when I was going through it, you know, but you don't know what you don't know. I will see y'all next video and talk to y'all later. Bye.